Here is one of a series of talks by spiritual leader Lola McDowell Lee, spanning 2 decades from the early 70s through the 90s. Lola was a Zen Roshi, whose Rinzai lineage included Dr. Henry Plutov and renowned Zen Master Shigetsu Sasaki. Lola was a religious scholar as well as an ordained Christian minister. While the talks are focused mainly on Zen and Buddhism, Lola drew on many spiritual traditions, including those of Jesus, Plato, Lao Tzu, the Hindu Vedas, Meister Eckhart, and Gurdjieff.
And now the Master Tozan, and that's Japanese. In Chinese it would be Tongshan, around 800-900 someplace, was weighing some flax in a storeroom. And a monk came up and asked him, "What is the Buddha?" And Tozan answered, "This flax weighs 5 pounds. Or sometimes it says this flax, this hemp, weighs 3 pounds. Now, in a small school, there was a rather seemingly stupid little boy. He never asked any questions. He just sat there and looked dull. So, of course, the teacher neglected him. But one day, he got very excited. The teacher was explaining a certain problem in arithmetic, and she was putting all these figures on the board. And he kept raising his hand again and again and again, in his excitement. And when the teacher finished, she erased all the figures from the board, and she turned to the child, happy, that for the first time he was excited enough to inquire about something, like he'd come to life, So she said to him, "I am happy that you are ready to ask a question, so ask." And the child stood up and he said, "I am very concerned, and the question is this. It has come to me again and again. Today it is so urgent I must ask. Where do the figures go when you erase them from the board?" Or it's like the little boy that was, he was not 3 yet, and he was still trying to master potty training. And he loved to go in and just sit on the potty and think. So one evening, after a very trying day for the mother, here he goes, and he sits in there, and he calls her in, and he tells her to sit on the edge of the tub, and she's too tired to argue with him. So she sits down, and he says, "Mom, let me tell you a question." And she waited. And then he asked, "How did the first man that made the first clock know what time to set it?" Huh? And she said, for her, the word humility took on a new meaning. How did the first man that made the first clock know what time it was? Nice, huh? Or, there's an old problem that they give the little monks, huh? A little older than little David, but little monks. Why is round round? Well, and this monk asks, what is Buddha? What is Buddha? And the old patriarchs, they had quite a number of answers. And one said, the one who sits in the hundo, or in the Buddha hall. And another one said, the 32 auspicious marks. And another one said a bamboo whip. And here comes this Tozan, and he says 5 pounds. Let's go 3. 3 pounds of flax. Well, if you're going to just look at words, you're going to search those words until the cows come home, and you'll never get it. No. You know, words we use, because this is how we communicate, you know, they are sometimes called vessels of communication, vessels to communicate ideas. And this in the way, you know, in the prologue to St. John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Word. So it's a fiat in this instance, in all instances. It's a vehicle, a fiat. It's something that carries something. So our words usually carry some idea, some kind of meaning. I mean, what I may say and mean, you may hear the words, and what you mean, it may be the other side of the fence. But anyway, it's words. And many people, not realizing these old patriarchs and what they knew and what their intent was in using such phrases, they just look in the words, you know. What grasp are you going to get out of the situation in these words? 3 pounds of flax. Out of the teachings of the patriarchs, we read, originally, the path is wordless. With words, we illustrate the path. Once you see the path, the words are immediately forgotten. To get to this point, go back to your original state. Just this, 3 pounds of hemp. It's like the single track of a great road that leads you to the capital. As you raise your feet and put them down, and you raise your feet and put them down, and you call it walking. You call it walking. You raise your feet and you put them down. There is nothing else that is not this. You raise your feet and put them down. Now, when our feelings and our concepts, our notions, our ideas, and so on, our comparative judgments of gain and loss, of right and wrong, when they are all cleared away at once, spontaneously, you will understand 3 pounds of hemp. Yeah. So you go through to know. You go through yourself to know. You can't stand outside yourself and know yourself. If you're standing in your thoughts, you're standing outside yourself. You're not yet in yourself. You must go through yourself to know. And you know, this takes a kind of a trust. Why do we not trust ourselves? Because we have made mistakes. We're not quite sure how we will react in certain circumstances. We have told little fibs. We have told big lies. We know we have not always reacted the way we should in certain circumstances. We have rejected ourselves in many ways. And so now, what's to trust in me? Sort of like that in a way. And yet, basically, let us consider, without the content of the psyche, setting aside all this content of the little lies and the big lies and you know, how we reject ourselves, that's all content of the psyche, and it doesn't mean a thing. Just set it all aside. Set it aside. Is there not something to trust? There must be. What keeps your heart beating? Your thinking? What keeps you breathing? Your emotions? Your fibbing? No. How come you wake up in the morning? You go to bed at night and you don't give it another thought. You trust. Boy, how you trust. You're already in bed, you're going to sleep, and you're already planning tomorrow. You trust. Very deeply you trust. You wake up again. And you don't even think, oh, I didn't die. No. There's thousands of reasons why we trust ourselves. It's just that we don't look in that direction. We just look at all this stuff, you know. See, let's ignore that. It is of no consequence. No. So, with trust, we move into the experience of ourselves. We move into an unknown of ourselves. And we don't ask very much. Just 3 pounds of hemp. Yeah. Now, let us imagine that we lived all our lives in a very dark room, and we had never seen outside. The curtains are all drawn, and you can't see a thing. It's dark in here. There's no light. Imagine it, huh? And I come along and I tell you, oh, it's a very beautiful morning out there. You're here in the room, you're all walled in, you're enclosed, and you want every question answered before you're going to step outside. But how can I tell you anything about a morning if you have never known what a morning is? Only that which you already know can be told in words. How can I tell you that light is raying through the trees? I'll never forget it. We were on a bus in Brussels, and the sun was just coming up, and all of a sudden the sun rays just shot through the trees, and all the dew began to rise, and the tour guide said, look, that's the beginning of rain. The moisture going up before it could come down. And here's the tremendous rays of the sun coming through this forest. You know, I can tell you about it. You know, if you've never seen anything like it, you would never believe me. How can I tell you that the whole sky is full of light? Because the sun has risen. How can I tell you this if you've always lived in the darkness like a mole? If your eyes are accustomed only to the dark, how can I explain that the sun has risen? You begin to question, you know. What do you mean the sun has risen? What's the sun? Where does it rise? You know, the sky is light. What do you mean light? You're putting us on. Oh, you're putting me on for sure, huh? You're deceiving me. We never, in all the days of our lives, never have known anything about this light like you talk about, you know. You answer our questions, and if we're satisfied, if you can convince us, then we might come with you. Otherwise, you're just leading me astray from my sheltered life. Sheltered by what? But now, how can that light be worded? If you've never seen it, how can I tell you? How can it be worded? What word will you use for light? One either knows it through experience or one doesn't. It's light. You know, so all this business about convince me about God, then I might practice meditation. Convince me, and then I might search. How can I go on a search if I don't know where I'm going? If you can say that, it's a kind of a distrust. Being polite. Because of it, this needing to be convinced first, you know, one cannot move into the unknown of oneself. Because the known clings to us. Not only that, but we cling to the known. And the known is nothing except what we have already experienced. So it's past. It may feel cozy because we've lived it, and we've tucked it away in the memory bank. But what is facing us? The unknown. What is alive and now is always unknown. We're moving into an unknown every day. In the next 5 minutes, we don't know. Maybe the sky will fall and Chicken Little will be running around. And maybe there'll be a flood. 5 minutes from now, an unknown. Maybe 5 minutes from now, you will have had an unknown insight into yourself. Who knows? All your life you have moved into this unknown. You just let an unknown go by. Why not search the unknown in you as well as the unknown out here? You want to know about a subject, you go read a book. We blithely go off every day into this unknown. So let us look a little for this unknown of the religious reality. Now, you know, in doing this, we of course observe our mind. Observing your mind. Observing your mind. Is it going somewhere? Is your mind going somewhere? Is it moving in circles? Do we repeat again and again and again? Last week, maybe you were angry about a circumstance. Maybe yesterday you were angry about a circumstance. Next week, maybe you'll be angry about a circumstance. Is the anger in any of these circumstances any different? Or is it anger? It's the same last week, it's the same yesterday, and the same tomorrow. The situation is different. The excuses are different. The rationalizing is different. But the anger is the same. So are you going anywhere? You know, at one time there was a man walking down the street in a little town, and this street, he was looking for an address, and there was a lot of little houses, not new, you know. But coming from one of them, it was a warm afternoon, and the doors and the windows were open, and he heard this wailing and this whining coming from one of the small houses. And it was a child crying. And he stopped for a minute to see if everything was all right. Then he heard the child say, "Mommy, I'm tired of moving in circles, you know. And the exhausted mother yelled back, either you shut up or I'll nail your other foot to the floor. At least you paid attention. One foot nailed to the thoughts in the mind. Nailed to the emotions, you know. And we protect them, you know. That's what we cling to. And because of that, we don't trust ourselves. And all the time we're crying for freedom from them. You've nailed yourself, haven't you? Yeah. Our thinking mind is repetitive. It was Gurdjieff who, you know, said it's like a phonograph record. It's going around and around and around and around. If the record breaks, I don't know if it's possible to have it fixed. I don't know if you could have it repaired. If not, you just throw it away. But the mind, it can't be repaired. The nature of the mind is to repeat. I mean, you know, they say repetition is how we learn things, and that's what we've done. And so we repeat, and we repeat, and we repeat. If you look back, it's the same mistake with 20 different faces. Repetition makes a groove in the brain. It makes a convolution, and so it's stored away in the memory bank. This is how we do things. In the course of time, you know, with these repetitions, we make bigger and bigger and bigger circles. Yeah? And the bigger the circle, you see, but at first, with a little bit bigger circle, we feel as if now we had some freedom. And so we go around mushing around in this thing, and then another thing comes along, and it gets a little bigger. Oh, now we're free. Yeah? One person's circle, you know, might be just a span of 24 hours, and they're with the repetition to make this complete revolution around this phonograph record. Another person's circle may be 30 days. He's got lots of freedom. So, yeah. Some make a circle once a year. Yeah. They're very clever. You know, maybe 10 years to get all the way around. You know, but the circle remains, be it little bitty or be it big. And we go round and round and round and round on the thing. Somebody put a nickel in us. The music comes out here. Now, because of this circling around of the mind, in the Eastern traditions, they call your life a wheel. You are on a wheel. See? It's your life, not the Buddha's life, your life. See? A Buddha is one who's gotten off the wheel. He's let go. He's no longer clinging, because it isn't up to the wheel to let you go, you know. You manufactured the wheel, and you've got to put it in its place. Yeah. Round and around and around. And it's a very strange thing, but all this repetition, this round and round and round, gives us a sense of security. And yet we want to be free from it. Samsara, the wheel, all is circling around. Where are you? Where are you? Somehow we're missing something. Where did we miss? You know, life is always new. Every day, every minute, it's new. And the whole effort of religion is to drop that repetitiveness and move into that new. Move into this moment new. New, new, new. Yeah. And you know, there are two types of monks. whether you call them contemplatives, as we do in Christianity, or whether they're sannyasins, which are in India, or whether they are bhikshus, Buddhism. One type of a monk clings to the mind. He lives by the precepts. Thou shalt and thou shalt not. He obeys the morality. This is his law. And the other type of monk tries to move into life itself, you know. He may be living the life of a householder. He may have a wife. She may have a husband. They may have children. He may work on a farm. He may work in a garden. He may dig holes. He may weigh flax in a storeroom. The Zen masters live very ordinary lives. You know, it's a strange thing, like they all seem to have a particular kind of a chore that they want to do. Like the one who lived at Shogenji at the beginning when it was still a little hut, who founded it, he developed a kind of a pickle, which they still use at Shogenji. It's become a very famous pickle. And other Zen Roshis at other temples have developed other things. A lot of them develop pickles. You know, they're ordinary people. Just ordinary. They dig out in the yard and they, you know. We're not so conditioned, you know. A monk from here walking by someone like Tozan, and he'd say to himself, see, that master is weighing flax in a storeroom? I'm going to ask him a question. The bishops and the cardinals, you know, the ministers, would they weigh flax in a storeroom? Would they make pickles? I don't think so. But somebody weighing flax in a storeroom, we turn away from them. Why ask him something? He doesn't know anything. He's working in a storeroom. He just weighs flax. If he knew anything, he wouldn't be doing that. No. You know, we have our concepts of what a sage should be, or a saint, or whatever you want to call it. He should be something extraordinary, you know, beyond us, you know, way out there in the sky somewhere, where we can't reach him because he's so different. The Zen masters are not like that. He's not extraordinary at all, and yet he's extraordinary. He lives a very ordinary life. He's not somewhere out in the sky. He's here, smiling and laughing and telling jokes, and some of them are a little bit on the risque side, huh? He plays golf, takes a drink, eats beef jerky, and stomps around, and oh boy, is he special. Huh? Yeah. Just like everybody else. Ordinary, but boy, is he special. What is a Buddha doing in the storeroom? Weighing flax? The little monk says, I weigh flax, he weighs flax. What's the difference between us? What is Buddha? You know. Now, it is not something in the atmosphere that has changed a man like Tozan. No. It's not something that's been told to him by somebody. That doesn't make him any different. Are you any different for all the telling? Outer differences do not make changes in us, really. Anyone can go and sit under a banyan tree, that is the Bodhi tree. Anyone can go sit under a banyan tree, which is a fig tree, where Jesus met Philip. What happens to them? You going to go sit under a fig tree? Bodhi tree. He's going to go there and sit. What happens? Nothing. See, in Hawaii, there's a very large banyan tree. I mean, it's like this room. I mean, because, you know, the roots come up and they go down, and the roots come up and they go, they keep rooting all over the place like that. And this is so big, they've built a whole bar around it. And people go sit at this bar, and they say they're sitting under the Bodhi tree. Is it going to change them? I don't think so. No. But when the inside changes, yeah? And then we get all these foolish notions. He's changed. He's become somebody. Why bother with the outside now, we think? We should just polish it up and let it sit on a throne, you know. And some people say, well, I have seen something, and they begin to strut. When you see somebody strutting like that, know that they have seen little. Yeah. What do you do when you have seen, when you have insight? You just carry on. Carry on. Carry on with whatever you're doing. Carry on with whatever comes across your path. Carry on with whatever the whole needs, because that's what needs doing. If the flax needs weighing, weigh it. If the garden needs weeding, weed it. If the tree needs chopping, chop it. If the stomach needs food, feed it. What needs doing, do. Just carry on. Now, this koan, is usually stated more simply. It just goes, a monk approached Tozan, or Tongshan, and asked, where or who is the Buddha? And Tozan answered, this flax weighs 3 chin. See, that's the Chinese. There's no mention of him in the storeroom. However, because of the way he answers that this is 3 pounds of flax, somebody put him in the storeroom. Yeah. And it's all beside the point. Who cares where he is? The question is, what is the Buddha? That's what's important. Yeah. It's a great question, because it encompasses what is the truth. What is God? What is the absolute? What is the Brahman? What is that? What is Tao? What is the one among the many? What is the basic reality? What is the central core of existence? This flax weighs 5 pounds. It's pointless. It hasn't answered a question at all. So we might think. But he is saying, this flax weighs 5 pounds. You raise your foot and you put it down, and you raise your foot and you put it down, and you raise your foot and you put it down. He is saying, this very ordinary life is Buddha. This very ordinary life is truth. This very ordinary life is Brahman. This very ordinary life is the kingdom. There is no other life except this very ordinary life. Only this exists. So we come to this word exists. Only this exists. Existence. It is a word which means to stand out, to stand forth. We might say to manifest. Something is seen, something makes an appearance. Yeah. The truth, or Buddha, or Brahman, or the kingdom, is the non-existence of the existence. And they are both one. The non-existence of the existence. That which does not stand out in us, or in anything, is the base of the existing. The non-existent, the subsistence of the existence, does not stand out. It is not manifest in an appearance as an object, but because of it, there is an appearance as an object. The subsistence, or the Urgrund, as Meister Eckhart called it, the ground, is the truth, which is manifest as this ordinary life, this very moment, regardless of what you're thinking. Now, so what about this? This flax weighs 5 pounds. Well, the question, of course, is called a koan, which is a problem to be solved, which is, again, a method, or we might, what they call it, upaya, a device or a contrivance, by which one's understanding is tested. So this monk asked Tong Shan, who is a Buddha? 3 chin of flax. So we look at it, and we look at it. We look at it, yeah? And we see that there is no room in this question and answer where we can insert our intellectual interpretation. What is there to interpret in this thing? What is a Buddha? 3 pounds of flax. What are you going to interpret? Yeah? Our knives are not really sharp enough to cut the problem apart, and so we can analyze it. There really isn't, in a way, nothing to analyze. 3 pounds of flax, huh? It's not a logical proposition at all, you know. It is an expression of a certain state of consciousness resulting from the discipline. I had to add that. Resulting from the discipline. If you want to know, there must be some kind of discipline. Huh? Now, what logical connection can there be between the Buddha and 3 pounds of flax? Flax, you know, is what they make linen out of. Long, thin things. They're over there in Egypt. So we have others like that. There's, you know, the problem, you know, when the emperor is questioning Bodhidharma. You know, he wants to know what merit he's got because he built the temples and made the people go to church and contributed money and blah, 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 you know. And Bodhidharma says, no merit, no reward. There's nothing holy. And this emperor comes back with, well, if there is nothing holy, why did you come to China? To what purpose? You know, and he simply answers, the cypress tree grows in the garden. What can you sink your teeth into with that? So you can figure it out. The tree grows in the garden. What purpose is there in that? What connection does it have with Bodhidharma coming from China, from India? All that took him, 9 years, they say, to make the trip? Yeah. A lot of answers have been given, you know. The Buddha is the one that sits in the hondo. He sits in the shrine. Now, there are some people who take this answer, 3 pounds of flax, as the Buddha itself. You know, except for one thing, where's the mind in 3 pounds of flax? You know, it gives a kind of a pantheistic interpretation to it. So as long as we are beguiled by words, and beguiled we are, you know, we cannot expect to penetrate into the heart of this man, Tung-shan Tozan. You know, words, as I have said, are a vehicle on which truth is carried, but it is not, they are not, they never will be the truth. If you're trying to find truth in words, you will find eventually, it will dawn on you eventually, that you have absolutely nothing to grasp. No. So to forget the words, we have to have an insight into this, which is indicated by the words. So it is said that this 3 chin of flax is like a royal thoroughfare to the capital. So it's a great koan. Now, young men, this monk who had asked, he went again then to another teacher and asked him what Tung-shan meant by 3 chin of flax. And said this teacher, a mass of flowers, a mass of brocade. Do you understand? And this little monk, he said, oh boy, was that above him. Well then, bamboos in the south and trees in the north. And that was the final conclusion. Yeah. The intent is to go beyond the intellect. Intellect is fine. I'm not very intellectual, but I do admire intellect in people. I really do. But we still have to go beyond the limits of the intellect. Now, the limits, whatever they may be of your intellect, it may be very limited, it may be lots of room to play in. Unlimited it isn't. But the limit can be broken through by exhausting oneself. That is, by using all your psychic powers, all your willpower, everything at your command with which you can make an effort, with which you can pay attention, to compact all the force in what is called the hara, in your drum, the pot, out of which things rise, stew. The effort of concentrating will turn this logic and the intellectuation into intuition. This force of it turns it. What cannot be solved on the plane or the level or of the empirical consciousness, our objective self-consciousness, is transferred with our effort at concentration, with our effort of paying attention as to what is going on here. It's transferred to the very deep recesses of the mind. See? And when little by little, this transfer takes place to the intuition, and the problem is solved. I mean, there comes a realization of, Look at that. Now, once solved, we can turn around. We've had this insight, and we see this. It can be, the problem then can be compared maybe like to a piece of brick that we picked up and used to knock on a gate. And, you know, when the gate opens, we throw the brick away. The piece of brick, the koan, is useful as long as the doors are closed. When they're open, we can forget it. What one sees after the opening will be something quite unexpected. Something that you have never before encountered. Even in your own imagination have you encountered it. And then on turning around again, and this koan is re-examined from the newly acquired point of view, because, you know, you had this insight, how marvelously suggestive it is. Huh? How fittingly constructed it is. It couldn't have been any other kind of question. It couldn't have been any other kind of answer, little problem that would have given the same answer. It fits like hand and glove, or one hand into the other hand. Huh? And there is nothing artificial about it. Now, I have been very remiss about something, and I would like to do it now. It'll take about 5-10 minutes. They're playing. Bill McGrath. Yeah. He has undertaken the task of self-discipline. He is making the effort of self-understanding, and he is making the effort toward the realization of what we call the originally pure, or the unmanifest, or the absolute. And having voiced this desire for this understanding, he has decided to commit himself thereto. And in this commitment, he pledges to devote as much time as possible to the practice of meditation, to accept responsibility for himself, to accept the discipline of the teacher, to give freely of his inner power to the source of all, and manifesting this by supporting work-wise and financially this Noetic Christian Church, which is a manifestation of the whole. So, in so publicly committing himself, he makes known his faith in the light and the life which he seeks, and his faith in himself, and in the process of realizing 3 births. We are born physically, it's the first birth, and then there are 2 more, partaking of the resurrection. And now there was a thrice-born man who was called Hermes Trismegistus, and he is often referred to in the ancient mysteries because he was thrice-born, which is rarely mentioned. I mean, we do not hear it mentioned in the Eastern traditions, and we do not hear it mentioned in Christianity. So it is the old Gnostic, the Gnosis, the 3 births of gnosis. Yeah. And we have then Hermes Trismegistus, who taught his son the mysteries of life, saying, the birth of the Christos in the individual consciousness is the striking of a new keynote. Everything apparently remains as it was before, but all things now receive a new interpretation. No physical sight, even of the greatest intensity, can penetrate the veil. Only the mind of man can penetrate through himself to that. The mind of God is the very essence. What that is, only it knows precisely. Be ye that. Be pious. He who giveth thanks, he will be pious, and he will come to know both where truth is and what it is. The unmanifest God is most manifest. All that is made manifest is subject to becoming. But the unmanifest forever is. It ever is, and maketh manifest all other things within itself. Thou hast the power of taking thought of it, then of perceiving it, and then grasping it in thy own hands. So be ye that, manifest and unmanifest, knowingly. He is greater than all names, so great is he. For verily he is the only one, and this and we are his work. He is God beyond all names, the unmanifest, the most manifest. He whom mind alone can contemplate. He is the one of nobody. He is the one of many bodies. Rather, he is of everybody. Naught is there which he is not, for all are he, and he is all. And for this cause hath he all names, in that they are all one. And for this cause hath he himself no name. Who then may sing the praise of thee? I sing the secret hymnody of the thrice-born. Let every nature of the world receive the utterance of my hymn. Open thou earth, let every bolt of the abyss be drawn for me. Ye heavens open, and ye winds stay still, and let God's deathless sphere receive my word. For I will sing the praise of him who founded all, who fixed the earth and hung up heaven, and gave command that ocean should afford sweet water, who made the fire to shine for gods and man. Let us together all give praise to him, sublime above the heavens of every nature, Lord. 'Tis he who is the eye of mind. May he accept the praise of these my powers. Ye powers that are within me, him the one and all. Sing with my will, powers that are within me. O blessed Gnosis, by thee illumined, hymning through thee the light that mind alone can see, I joy in joy of mind. Sing with me praises, all ye powers. Sing praises, my self-control. Sing thou through me my righteousness, praises of the righteous. Sing thou my sharing all, the praises of the all. Through me sing truth, truth's praises. Sing thou, O good, the good. O life and light, from us to you our praises flow. I give thee thanks, O God, thou power of all my energies. Thy reason sings through me thy praise. Thus cry the powers in me, they sing thy praise, thou all, they do thy will. The all that is in us, O life preserve, O light illumine, O God in spirit. For thou art God, thy man thus cries to thee, through fire, through air, through earth, through water, and through spirit. It is in thee that I have found praise giving, and in thy will, the object of my search, I have found freedom. So accept the gift of God in you. And awake in freedom. I thank you. I have a piece of paper that goes with that, which you can't have until tomorrow night. And now may the peace and the power that passeth all understanding hold us and keep us in the love of the Christed consciousness while we are seemingly separate one from another. And I do thank you very much.
If you find Lola's talks valuable, more will be posted in weeks to come.
What?
Don't we have to do the building?
Oh yeah, the building. Everybody's going to come out here and vote Tuesday. Let's go look at the building.